I think we're okay. The glare on that one isn't bad. Okay. So we are recording. So this one's going live and this one's recording over there. If you can help me make sure.
Yeah, that's good on Mark.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I think we need for you to come just a little bit, scoot over. There you go. That's just a little bit. There you go.
Yeah.
You're right.
Do the rabbit ears.
I think we are all good to go.
Mark, I wonder if you could start, because I've heard your story about how your first experience in support employment or early experience in support employment, and then some of the things that have worked in your relationship with Trillium. And I think it would be great for the rest of the team here to know, your journey in this experience from a business perspective.
Awesome. So Hot Jacks started, we're in our eighth year. And so Hot Jacks began kind of as a project that a former colleague and I decided we wanted to kind of do things the way that we grew up in the system, which was Red Robin. It's been 35 years in that concept and built it. When I joined, there was 7 Red Robins, and there's a lot more than that right now. So in that day, it was kind of fun to just be creative and do things the way we wanted to do them, and there wasn't really a corporate structure, and there was a lot of opportunity to be very creative and have fun, which is most important. Like, I've never had a job, so I've been very fortunate in that regard, and it's continuing in that vein because we started to get kind of constrained in the Red Robin system and decided that it was going to be something different for us. So Hot Jacks was birthed because of that. So both of us enjoy a burger instead of a steak, and I like to drink beer, and so it's fun to have that concept. It's really a concept that where we would go if we were going to go out. So to do that, our biggest challenge is always going to be to build a team. And to do that successfully, we have to have team members and employees that really understand our brand and work with our brand and believe in the brand and can represent the brand. So my experience with Red Robin in supported employment was not good. And it simply was not good for one reason. The support broke down after the placement was made. And so what we saw was kind of like dumping, basically no follow-up, and it was very difficult because from a time management standpoint, we don't have a lot of time to babysit any team member, right? I mean, no matter who they are, we haven't got to worry about them being punctual, we haven't got to worry about them being productive, and again, it's really important for us. So I was very, very disenchanted with supported employment. Didn't care to get involved with it until I met Heidi. And so opening week, we're running pretty strong, and Heidi's at the door, and she wants to talk to me and support employment, and I have no interest. And so she kept coming every day, and pretty soon she just wore me out. But it was cool about what her approach was, and it was very effective. And I don't know if she was trained to do it or if she did it just naturally, but she basically approached us with a business proposal and told us that, what kind of work do you have? Because I think I have someone to fill that work. And that just blew me away, because that's what the whole thing is about. I mean, everyone, it's about fit, and everyone can do something. Everybody. And so if you as a coach can find the right fit for that team member, that's magic. That's what I say. What I mean when I say I never had a job, because I've always fit well into the things I do, and I have fun, and I make money, and I found out a way to make a living and not regret every morning getting up and going to work. So it was awesome. And so I said, well, we roll silverware, and it's a drag. for our team members, and it's very time consuming. And she said, I can help you with that. I've got people that know how to do that. I'm like, okay. And we also hand make cheese sticks, and that's a drag, and nobody wants to do it. And well, I can help you with that too. And so skeptically, I went forward with that, and sure enough, and she was just tenacious about making sure that this worked. And it was very satisfying to see her do everything that a manager would do if they were on my management team to make that person successful. So I kind of thought of her as a department manager for silverware rolling and cheesesteak production. And so that's how our relationship really kind of blossomed. And I figured it out. And it was simply, I was ignorant to the fact that there is a great fit and everybody is capable. And the cheese sticks that we have, Corey's on his 5th year of producing God knows how many cheese sticks, but they're perfect. I can set my watch by his punctuality. We actually brought him in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when happy hour starts, so everybody knows when Corey's there, it's time for happy hour. And he produces enough cheese sticks to support a $3.5 million business, and it's the #1 selling appetizer that we have, and we never run out. And that's one of the opportunities our other hot chefs have, is that they do run out of those products, and it's because nobody really wants to do them. They're very difficult to do. They're very meticulous, and so they get messy. And so that's why it's hard for us to keep team members engaged in doing it, because it's a very repetitious job. It's very meticulous, and it's never different. It's the same. It's just, he's just a machine.
So you say that Heidi really showed management qualities.
Correct.
Can you kind of like outline what some of those
Sure.
things that you saw that she did directly with?
So she understood that everyone, or that every business has something they need to get done, right? That's what they do. So whether it's a restaurant, whether it's, I know that like Katie's Creations and their t-shirt business and Silverdale. Oh gosh, all the placements that you guys approach. The manager or the owner is in business. They do something. They make something, or they produce something that provides some service. But she understood that there are some things that we do that maybe there's a business opportunity to do them more effectively and to do them more cost efficiently, and after all, and do them better. So team members at the end of their shift don't want to roll silverware. They just want to go home. They just want off. They have things to do, places to go. So their product is pretty poor, and it's a signature item. Every single guest gets a silverware roll-up, and if you don't represent that well, that's not a great kickoff to an experience. And so it's really important that that we understand it's a signature item, and that the team member understands that that's representing our brand. A dirty fork wrapped in a loose wrap that isn't very professional isn't a great start to the experience. So Heidi understood that, and that's where she started. She understood that we need to bus tables, and that they need to be clean, because you walk up to a table again, the first experience, and it's dirty or got crumbs on this. So she understood that there are opportunities from a management standpoint, or business opportunities, to provide a great fit. And that's the formula. It's all about fit, and putting the right person in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And so that's, I think, what scored with me is understanding having a partner who was helpful in getting that accomplished. And we had failures. We had misses. We put Zachary is our silverware roller, and again, the best silverware roller ever. And I wish I could have him there 7 days a week, but he also has some from the McDonald's on Sundays. So that cat was doing some busing, and it didn't work. It was a mess. And so it's us again, figure it out. Where's the fit? And we tried to have him roll hamburgers, because we have that to do too. And he didn't really enjoy that as much as he's just passionate about soil work. It's crazy, but it's the right fit, right? Because that's what we want. He will not let a dirty fork go through. He will not roll a dirty fork or a dirty knife. He won't roll it. He just pile it at the side and get kind of angry about it. and that's kind of me, I mean, really, you can't watch silverware. So that's what that's the relationship. The essence of the relationship is that we're just about trying to make a business case for employment. And that's, I mean, whether you're a parent trying to get your kid a job, or whether you're someone graduating from college trying to find work, you got to make a business case for what the heck you're going to do and why you're going to provide value for the employer. And that basically provide the argument that you can't live without me. And if that's what happens, because I just don't want to exist without Zach and so forth. I don't want to exist without Corey. I'm taking it with me when I go to Gig Harbor too, by the way. Number one, because he lives closer to the Gig Harbor restaurant than he does. He comes from Burley, which is amazing. Olala, yeah. So which is amazing because it's a journey to get to Silverdale every day. It's amazing, but again,
Keep Jordan Miller in mind.
yeah, I know.
She's on my case.
Well, Jim and I used to work together.
Yeah, I know. Margaret and Jordan say hi.
Yeah,
By the way.
thank you. Yeah, in fact, I want to propose that we teach Joey how to.
She did it for 8 years at
I
Rhode
don't know
Island.
that, so she's done that. I know she's good at that. Let's do something.
Oh, awesome.
Mark, one of the things that you said is that we're helping a business do something more efficiently and more effectively. It can be pretty presumptuous of us to walk into, say, a biotech company or an insurance company and say, hey, I can run your company more, I can help you be more efficient, because it makes it sound like we're an expert and in fact, they know how to run their business and they've been successful. So how can we be good at communicating that without seeming like we're telling them how to run their business?
That's a great question, and it is hard. It is hard because I did think that when Heidi was talking to me, like, what do you? But I think you can present that, and I guess it's style flexing with your personality or your management style, but to be able to just open-endedly say, what things do you have to do that might be tasks that someone with a more narrow focus on completing these tasks can do for you, filing, and just kind of throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got people that are really good at doing that, very quick at doing that, very efficient at doing that, don't make mistakes. So I guess you kind of connect with the needs that you're presuming that an employer might want to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to use the word nuisance jobs or repetitious jobs or mundane things to do, but every business has it.
Mm-hmm.
Every business has it. And the passion that someone has for doing those, that Zach has for doing that work, is rewarding for him, rewarding for me, rewarding for the guest, rewarding for his family. I mean, honestly, a guest stopped me 2 days ago and just said, I know you help people with disabilities. And I said, thank you. And I said, well, really what happens is they help me more than I help them. And I challenge you to pick out any person with a disability in this building. You're probably going to pick me. But they blend in so well. They become such a hallmark member of the team that it's really, Corey is just a different kid than he was years ago. Zach's just a different kid. They're just very outgoing, very team-orientated, very, they want to talk to you about their life. They want to engage you. And that's just, what's different from that than the normal person? There just isn't. So again, understanding that as an employer, it was a revelation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing a nice thing. I wasn't trying to be charitable. No, it was completely different than that. It was just a business case for. I think that's the key to understand from your position is to understand how do you get that done. And I don't know the magic formula. I don't know anything other than to tell you as from an employer standpoint, when you connect like that, it's the way in. It's the way in. And honestly, there probably are employers that are dumb like I was and are just going to not care about it. And probably that's the wrong place for a placement anyway. You know, it's probably the wrong spot because otherwise it's just going to be a job. And these kids have work, and work is good for the soul, and work is good for growth, and everybody wins. So, and that's again, I mean, I need people to work, and I need to roll silverware. That's a fact. And I can roll silverware a better way with Zach than I can with any of the other servers. And they're happy about it. I'm happy about it.
So
that answers your question.
if we were, you know, all business leaders here, we were managers or CEOs or hiring decision makers, and you could tell that we were all skeptical
Yes.
for various reasons. Maybe
Sure.
someone's worried about liability, someone's worried about being sued if they have to terminate,
Yeah.
someone's worried about babysitting, as you
Yeah.
said. What are sort of 3 things that you would tell us?
Well, I think that the skepticism is natural. We kind of understand you're going to face that, right? So breaking down that barrier, I think that's the challenge. That's kind of why you get up in the morning. There's going to be skepticism. And whether you're a college graduate with a degree and a resume or you're not, everyone's got to take a chance on you. So I think part of the job of someone who's trying for employment is being persistent. And then understanding as much as you can about that business, researching as much as you can, and then bringing up ideas. And then I think the third thing, so skepticism, research, looking at skepticism as a challenge, research as an opportunity for knowledge, and then the third thing I think really is making a business case for a better and more efficient end result. So if I can put that in terms of what Heidi was wanting to do is, she knew some of the things that we did. Okay, she knew some of the jobs that we had. She'd done a little homework, or she'd asked me. She was willing to put up with my pushback. She took it as a challenge. And the third thing is she made certain that there was a efficiency quotient for me that both was productive and the project was great. You guys should know that Heidi even went to the extent of designing equipment for cheesesteak making that I don't know who paid for it, but me. That makes the whole thing very efficient, and every cheesesteak is perfect. And so it's something that she went to that end. So she really knocked the business thing out of the park. And I don't want to run out of stuff. It's a pain and it's embarrassing. And so for me, that was the home run. So those 3 things I think are key. Because I know what you face, because I was one of those guys.
You related a couple of comments about the business benefits and making that business benefit. Is there any way you can estimate what kind of economic effect supported employment has had for you?
Yeah,
Bottom
sure.
line?
I mean, it would take some time, and that's my wife is actually really good at that. So maybe I'll ask her to put together kind of just an overall 30,000 foot viewpoint. But here's the deal: when you're done with your shift, I have to roll silverware to get ready for the next shift, right? So whatever pieces that is, 30 pieces each times 16 members, so 180 pieces. How long is that going to take for them to do? And typically it takes a long time, because what do you think they do? They sit down, socialize, and they're working, but it's not the same intensity that someone who is passionate about doing that can produce those 180 pieces in half the time. And literally that's what happens. That's what happens. So I can do the numbers. The $11 an hour times X equals, each piece is worth 50 cents worth of labor. We can come up with that. And it's the same with the cheese sticks. If I have any other team member make a cheese stick, it's a horrific result. You come up with these horrible looking, fat, over-breaded, just awesome or awful end results. And so the waste in the cheese is huge. The mess that they've made is terrible. Their uniforms are covered in, and then I have to throw a lot of them away because they don't cook. So there's all kinds of ways to come up with a number. I never really have done it because I just know it. I see it, and I know the difference between that and that, and it's not good. So, and really, that's why we Hot Jacks are interested in working with any employment supported that fulfills the kind of the coaching and follow up and the support. And don't get me wrong, I don't want you to be there all day. I don't want that. I don't want you to be there every day. I just want you to be there as a manager and own that team member like you would if you were actually a manager on my roster. And I don't need you to be babysitting either. And if that's what happens, we move on, right? And we've had situations with team members that we've had at Hot Jacks in Silverdale that we've said, no, it's just not working. I don't want Emma, I don't want you here every single day working all day long to make this work. It's just not a good fit. And this kid is now working in a different place, I think in Paulsboro somewhere, and doing a great job, but it's a different fit for him. Different fit for him. So again, going back to that, it gets kind of boring as to what the magic ingredient is, but it's really about fit. And then the business case can be made. And once that's supported by your knowledge of that, sorry, but an employer would not be very intelligent to not want to engage in that kind of an opportunity. It just makes great sense because they're great team members. And that's what we're all looking for to be successful. But you can get the number. You can dig if you want and find it.
I'll follow up.
And it's there, and it's significant. Yeah. That's why when Trillium brings political people to visit, it's whatever support they are to you. I'm interested in speaking to them because as a small business, which is a huge driver in the economy, our employment, tax support, being able to provide a service and be a citizen in Kitsap County, I want to make sure that the politician understands this is not just a charity business. This is a business that we need as employers to provide us that service, and they need to keep doing what they're doing because they're doing great work. I mean, you guys really are. It's great. It's great stuff that you're doing because again, work changes people's lives, and it makes them better citizens, and they contribute. And again, unfortunately, we've had to cut back a little bit with the hours that we've given some of the kids, and they hate it. And Corey's just like, I don't want to just work 3 days. I'm sorry, Corey, but that's what we're doing right now. When Gig Harbor opens, you're going to be working 5 again. But we had a situation where a bridge closed down the road from us, and it impacted us a lot over the year. It's open now, and we're back to more normal. But it was sad, and it wasn't just Corey and Zach that cut back. Other did too, but it's a significant change in their life. So unfortunate, but we're back to better times.
Great.
Do other people have questions? One thing that it seems like we're proposing to a business often is it's a new concept. It's a new business venture. It's something that they haven't done before. And so as a leader, starting a new business, when someone pitches something to you that's brand new, how do you process whether it's going to work for you or not? Like, what are some criteria that you use to run through whatever it is, whether it's a new point of sale system or a new supplier bringing something to you, what are your criteria to go through that?
I think the brand is supported much like a chair. I mean, there's 4 legs or at minimum 3-legged stools, but you gotta have support. So the opportunity has got to support the brand in these ways, and it's got to be a system. If it's a system-oriented thing, it needs to make the bottom line better, or it needs to make the opportunity to do things a little bit more efficient. So for a point of sale example, it's got to provide us with an increased speed, increased margin of error, kind of a fail-safe way to send information. Then it's got to be friendly to the people, to the team. So it's got to be support the team. And if it doesn't support the team, then it's not going to be accepted. It's not going to be something the team is going to grab onto. And it'll produce the opposite effect. It's got to support the actual menu items. I mean, it's probably not a good idea for us to do spaghetti because it's not something that's going to fit the brand. People will what? So the neighborhood, the culture piece has to fit. It has to fit into that. And then, if those things are things that we can check that box on, then we're good. And people, systems, the culture, and results. Those are the things that you kind of want to check each box and make sure. It doesn't got to check all 4 boxes, but it's got to make some sense in a majority of them, at least 2 or 3 of them, before we would say, great idea. However, not a great fit for our brand. And again, there's that word, fit. And so it's a great idea. It just doesn't fit. And so, and the brand needs to be understood by us. You know, we've tried things in the Silverdale location that really just didn't fit the brand very well, and we needed to say, okay, whoops, and change it and put it back to where it was. Simple little things. You know, we tried to use our French onion base as au jus, and that lasted about 10 minutes before people just said that this is au jus is water and beef base. This is French onion soup. I'm not dipping my French dip. I'm not dipping my roast beef sandwich in French onion soup. So change it back. We went, okay. That was done. I mean, little things like that fit the brand, or that you think are great ideas, and they're cost efficient. We have French onion soup. Why have au jus? Yada yada. Great idea. You know, we're up on the table. We're geniuses, and go out and do it. And it just, who thought of that? We love to make fun of ourselves with that kind of stuff. We're pretty stupid sometimes.
You have a corporate background too. You were at Red Robin for a long time. We have not had much success. I know that we've had placements in Red Robins before, but certainly since I've been on board for the last 3 years, it has not been a successful place. And I'm just curious, kind of like from your perspective now, what was it about Red Robin that made it so difficult for someone like coming in as a supported employee?
I can envision someone get thrown under the bus here. No, again, whether it's Red Robin or anybody else, I think that they have to understand that this is a real business case for a more efficient fit. And I'm going to guess that any employer that doesn't want to do that hasn't made that connection. Mm-hmm. They just haven't. And you're going to try hard to help them make that case, but until they figure it out or want to do it, they just will push back. And too often it's seen as though supported employment is charity work. It seems as though you're doing it because you're doing a nice thing. And I know that's how I felt. And if it wasn't very productive, then dump it. There wasn't any value. So until you figure that out, I think that's the missing piece. That's the missing piece. And in corporate thinking, we hate that word, and we're going to try. Our challenge as we grow is to stay small and stay small, and we fight that every day. It's difficult. It's really sounds easy, but it's very difficult. And so staying small is part of this that we're talking about. Okay, part of this whole spirit of thinking about productivity, thinking about fit, thinking about neighborhood support, thinking about being community-based and relationships, thinking about appreciating the partnerships, because thank God Heidi was as, otherwise I never would have met Karen, I never would be able to talk to you guys, I never would be able to have met Zach, I never would be able to have worked with Corey and seen the joy of all that happening. So you gotta appreciate those partnerships, and corporate structure doesn't do that. It doesn't do that, unfortunately. Wish it did.
So it sounds like kind of like corporate is primarily it's about like hyper efficiency and making as much money as
Probably
possible.
in the truest sense of the word, I suppose so.
It's about efficiency, driving down like costs, upping profits.
Yeah. Well, because we were a franchise group, I was associated with a franchise group when in my experience with corporate. So I really was never in the corporate world. So I was in a small franchise group. We had 13 restaurants.
Yeah.
We had the busiest Red Robins in the world. We operated 3 of the busiest Red Robins nationwide. But we did it kind of in a cowboy way. And so it was really not very corporate. And then we got purchased by the Red Robin International, Red Robin Corporate, and they had gone public, right? So once you do that, it changes who you're reporting to. It just changes completely who you're reporting to. And that's what happens, is that shareholders will not return.
Yeah.
And so you kind of lose that ability of going like, I can't do this because I can't work with this grade of hamburger because there's cheaper stuff out there.
Yeah.
As an example. Or I can't buy this great bun to use, or I can't use the one we were using because they don't want us to use it. Well, we don't do that.
Yeah.
And God forbid we ever do.
Okay, so it sounds like part of that is about having the freedom even to take like risk.
Well,
let's
absolutely.
throw this out.
Entrepreneurial spirit is a cool thing. And if it's allowed to go.
Yeah.
And still, we have to say every idea that we come up with can't be done because it doesn't fit the brand.
Yeah.
Right? So there's still a bit of that, but it's true to the brand and yet allowing innovation and collaboration. And that's again, that's why it's going to be so hard for us to stay small as we get bigger. Because we're going to get to be a pretty big outfit here in a while, and that's going to be a challenge that old guys like me are going to have to keep kicking the tires for, because we've seen the other side.
Anyone else have questions?
I think I was sharing earlier that Andrew and I had gone out Belleville into a very, actually their second business. And some of the questions that we were proposing to the owner was the exact same verbiage that you were stating, and that is, what is the benefit to me? And I think it was really kind of interesting that here, Andrew and I have been developing together for a long, long time, and we thought we had the verbiage down. We thought we had the door in. And so when this gentleman was kind of pushing us back, and he was saying, it's not that I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't have enough information. I just want to feel good about it.
Yeah.
And he was very short. He just wanted information.
Yeah.
And so even the thing that he kept saying over and over, I don't have the time right now.
Right.
I don't have the time. But he kept wanting to still engage. And so I guess for us is recognizing that he wants that engagement and trying to give that information. So we finally said to him, we said, you know what, this doesn't have to be an answer right now.
Sure.
This is something that we can talk about over and over again. But I guess for, Andrew and I, it was, when do we keep pushing?
Yeah.
Because we recognize with him especially that, that he's in that very fine line.
Yeah, perfect. So I know that when an employer, because I've done it, when an employer says don't have time, it's code for I don't know anything about what you're
Yeah.
and go away.
Yeah.
Right. so the way and that's okay, but the way in is to really what things are in your business that you think that we can help you with, or that you could give us some ideas that you could, and or if you know specifics about what they do. I see you roll silverware. How's that going? I can provide you someone who's going to be able to increase your productivity with that, and I've got background in understanding that, and I can provide you with some hard examples of efficiencies if you'd like. And okay, that's pretty cool. Rather than, I want to feel good about this employment. Yeah, okay, you'll feel good when they're on time, when they are very productive, and you don't have to worry about that actual production of that stuff anymore. It was one of the craziest things because when we're open and we're busy, the one thing that we run out of besides product is silverware. And we don't run out of product because we can store that, but we have to, silverware gets washed, thrown away, we got to wrap it. So it's an annoying thing to do. And so to kill the annoying part of it, we want to get a specialist to do that for us. It's just been wonderful. So if you can help an employer understand those things, that's really how the argument turns from don't have time to, hey, oh, I'm interested.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good that towards the end of our conversation, he did say, let's keep the conversation going.
Awesome.
And all this, the turnaround for us was that he said, well, I want everybody to do everything. And I said to him, I said, you know what, I'm going to let you know that's not what we're doing.
Right.
But I said, there's going to be 3 or 4 things that I bring in is going to be amazing.
Right.
And so let's talk about that.
That's a great way to put it, because I don't want specialists either, except it turns out that a specialist in a couple things really helps us do better. It's not that I don't want a server to ever roll a piece of silverware again. No, I don't. But I want, during our high volume peaks, I want them engaging with the guest. Not over here or up front as you're walking in, rolling silverware in front of you. So I figured out. So I do need a specialist sometimes. It's just focused on this one thing, and it's very productive at doing it. And if you can pin an employer down with that, or if that's what the employer gives you as, I need this, can you provide me with that? Then you're golden. It's go time after that, right?
Yeah.
It's really, now you've got someone who's going to understand the value of what you're providing. And it's just like any other position. I want people that are productive and love what they're doing, and that's kind of the answer.
What was the difference between Heidi's approach in terms of the line between persistence and annoyance?
So I think she was I just felt a genuine connection with her passion for what she was doing, because I can tell you that the other ones, they were just the other support employment that I had experience with was really very obviously just kind of a dumping ground kind of thing. They didn't even know, they weren't even as educated as to what this person could do. And it was kind of like, got anything for this guy to do? No. So when you're specific about, I have someone that would be amazing at bussing tables. But I got bussers here too. I'm just telling you, I got someone who's amazing at doing it, and during peak times, this person's going to be very productive at doing that. And as an employer, I know that busing position is not easy to fill, and so I might listen. So, okay, it's kind of a proof thing. So that's where Heidi came with a genuine feeling of wanting to help me and help Corey. And that's great.
So if we think about how we can diversify into different job types and different industries, you know, a handful of us have either supported a restaurant or worked in a restaurant or coached in a restaurant, so we have some familiar with what some of these opportunities might be. But if we're trying to get into the concrete industry, the biotech industry, the medical instruments industry, I don't know anything about it, so I don't even know where to start with an idea for them. I can give them other examples in other industries, but do you have advice for how we could, you know, be able to help a business when we have very little knowledge of like the day-to-day tasks to uncover those themselves?
So, yeah, building a relationship with an employer, and I think that's kind of the beginning is where you just, it's not about, I want to meet you and introduce you to a potential team member. It's, I want to meet you and understand what you do. And if we can just start that relationship going, maybe there's nothing in the future for us. Maybe it's all good. But you know that all employers need help in some way or another. We just got to figure out how to, what that is. So the relationship has to be maybe just can we talk about, I don't have anybody with me, I'm not dragging anybody into the front door and seeing if a manager's got time for an interview. I just would like, is there a time I can talk to you about what you do? And because we have a lot of candidates and all kinds of different knowledge bases, I bet you guys have people that love gaming and computers and can file and can do, do other jobs and love doing those kinds of things and have a passion for something, because that's again what work is how can I figure out to make a living doing something fun, and whether it be computers or restaurant work or being a lawyer or a doctor or whatever you got to have a passion for it. So, and everybody has something like that. So I think building the relationship of what do you guys do, and we can help because we have a whole bunch of talent that we have resources to. And I think when you speak like that, it's building that relationship at first. I know it's going to take more time, but I think as you spread out and as you do try to get into different doorways, you've got to build that relationship with the employer. And I know that's for me. That's why I advocate for Trillium, is I'm advocating for supported employment, but I can't for every supported employment agency. I can only advocate for the ones that I know are true to that mission, because it's a partnership. And so I'm happy to advocate for what that is, because I know the value of it, and I look forward to seeing the successes out there. And so I try to advocate for my peer group to smarten up and hire great people that do great things and work with great agencies. And we all need those team members. And so we got to find them. It's a real challenge. I mean, good help is hard to find. That's an adage that's been around forever, right? It's not changed. And it's even more challenging now because the labor market is tight. The average wage is pretty challenging, and so the productivity is even more important. So that productivity, that work spirit, that work ethic is always at a premium.
You had mentioned your peer group, and now is that other restaurants in the area that are closely related to yours?
Yeah.
So how would we ask how we would be able to address that peer group, and just kind of give a quick general information about what we're doing?
So you're asking how to address another restaurant?
How would we ask you, can I go to your peer group? That type of thing. So
Oh, yeah.
What is your peer group like? What type of meeting is it? Is it open to guest speakers? And I would love an opportunity.
So from Hot Jacks, or from my peer group within Hot Jacks?
Your peer group, do you meet with
Other business owners.
other business owners?
Mhm.
that type
No.
of thing?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
But we do work with the Chamber of Commerce in Silverdale, and we meet with them 3 times a month. And they're interested in employment in Kitsap County. They're interested in bringing business to the peninsula. So I think that if I were interested in networking like that, I would be looking towards meeting with people like that, maybe. Because we don't, the Restaurant Association is a very strong group in Washington State, very, very active. That might be someone to talk to too, because there's tons of restaurants, and the restaurant business is a big employer in Washington State in that industry. But I don't necessarily, when I say peer group, I'm talking about the other 12 GMs that are my colleagues that we work with, and all of them aren't at the same level of understanding, even within our own group, of the value of finding great team members just about any way you can.
So how do you educate the other GMs?
So you got to show results, right? So you got to show that this business case isn't just in my head; it actually works out. So being the busiest restaurant with the best financial results and the consistency and that culture doesn't hurt. So when you're doing that, other people are looking to you saying, how are you doing that? Or we run out of silverware all the time. How do you not? Or we're always struggling with cheese sticks. How are you not? So you gotta be doing something. And still, to be honest with you, my colleagues haven't figured out the cheese stick thing out yet. But they're working on it, and they all do a great job with it. But it's not as efficient as we can do, because we've got the system in place and the support is in place to be very efficient at it. So it's just a journey, but it's when you show results and you can show how it can be done faster, easier, smarter, always you're going to get attention.
It sounds like they already have a buy-in just because of who you are, and now it's just basically following up with the results.
And making sure that, so like one of our restaurants up north took on a silverware roller, and I really kind of followed up with them and said, so are you seeing some value out of it? Not really. Well, you're not looking. Look a little bit deeper and see, look at it. Are you getting more pieces done faster than you would have before? Or is it just the same, and it's just kind of, you think you're doing something nice? So if you can, well, no, I really haven't looked at it that way. Well, can you do that for me and just see what you see? Sure enough, man, getting 180 pieces rolled yesterday was a lot, and now he's doing 180 pieces in 2 hours. So we have to understand it, right? I mean, it's just not, because otherwise it does get to be a good thing. I mean, it does get to be feel good kind of, but not understanding the productivity. And so when I'm talking to my peer group, feeling good is fine, but it's got to be it's part of the 4 cornerstones of our business is the results. There's got to be some results at the end of the day. We have to pay bills. We have to be responsible with that stuff. So we have to have results. It's a nice thing to be the neighborhood gathering place. That feels good. That's touchy-feely, kind of fun, but we got to be that. And how do we know we're that unless people tell us?
Yeah.
Going back to your staff that do roll the silverware at the end of their shift, what other opportunities are open to them when they do not have to do that?
So going home is pretty cool.
Yes.
They're all about that. When they're done, they're done. I mean, they're disconnected. So this rolling silverware thing is just kind of like going next door and having a beer. It's just kind of winding down.
So are they clocking off early then?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a trade-off. I mean, I'm managing my labor more efficiently by having 180 pieces rolled by one person while the shift is going on. I might spend 2 hours doing that. If I have 5 servers staying on for half an hour longer, to roll that silverware, do the math. And it just, yeah, it makes sense. And it might be an hour saved, but to take that times 363 days, times $11 an hour, and you kind of get the, and it might not be the world beater, but it's all about the nickels and dimes, and I'm doing better, and it's on purpose. And the team members that don't have to roll silverware at the end of their shift after a very busy shift are really appreciative of that. And so we try to want to be the employer of choice. If you want a restaurant job in Kitsap County, I want to be the only place that you want to come to work because it's the best environment ever. And that kind of helps that too. Right? So there's a win there because they are like, oh, good, I get off. I don't have to roll silverware tonight. And that's fun.
Which in turn makes them more productive.
Which in turn makes them more, because they're focused on, they don't have to worry about, here's the worst thing, right? Yesterday during lunch, I mean, we're pretty busy, and the staff is getting pretty pushed. And we went out of silverware. Okay, everybody's freaking out. So does that detract from the guest experience? It does. It does. And it's dumb. Why should that have happened? Well, because it was so busy last night that people didn't roll all the silverware they should have. Bad coaching, but still it's a reality. And so that's what happens. So trying to prevent that, because they aren't as focused if they're worried about having to run and find a set of silverware for this guest who their burger is out. And so they aren't as focused. They aren't going to be as genuinely hospitable.
Sure.
And they aren't going to connect with the guests the same way. So we're violating just about every one of our core principles. And just because we haven't got this one thing that I could figure out and that we can partner with that allows us to figure that out. But it's kind of deep, right? I mean, it's not like anybody should get this. It's really kind of annoying to be working on silverware, and from a personal standpoint, I don't want to be annoyed. So I try to figure it out so it's not a problem. So it's not, then it gets to be business. Then it gets to be really a business case. Like, wait a minute. That was way easier. Yeah. That help?
Yes, they
Awesome.
can.
Awesome. So you guys, you guys are doing great work, and it's amazing stuff. And I'm just pleased that I was able to figure out how to work with you, with Trillium, and continued success with that. And anytime I can advocate for any type of great employment, it's a pleasure, and it just really is been helpful for us, and we want to continue the relationships and get better at it and get deeper at it. And as we build more restaurants, certainly I want that to be a part of our strategy of getting great team members.
Well, I would say the same, the time today has been really helpful, educational for us so that we can continue doing our work. And, your perspective as an employer is great because it teaches us a lot, right, of what matters and how to make this work. And then, of course, being on the board, we appreciate that too. It's a volunteer job, so thank you for doing that.
So, is this like wrap-up time?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
want to honor your time.
Well, I want to know. Well, it's
Yeah.
my time. I want to know if I provided some value. So I always like to go back and check back and see if I've done the things that Julie wanted me to do. Right. So I was supposed to talk to you about our background. Check that box. We're a business owner, and we want to know the value of supported employment. Check. Awesome. And our management style, what kind of management style is probably a better one to fit into what you'd like to partner with and not, right? Maybe a little bit of relationship building and openness to new things, but it's got to provide some results. I mean, there has to be some results. So that's what she wanted me to do, and any ideas that we could think of to further the broad reach of potential employers and how to get in to talk to them, those kinds of things. So check that box?
Yes.
Awesome.
So
That's-
I do kind of have one question
Yeah.
about that. So their guys' brand it's very all encompassing, like, and it's a very like professional brand. Like I see that, and then I see that kind of like on par with like a Red Robin or something.
Sure.
Like, whoa, here's a professional restaurant. Like here's where I go if I want to get served.
Right.
So what are some other businesses that are like on your level, like something that like is professional, but it's not that sort of corporate entity?
It's a great question, and I don't know that I have an answer for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm so involved in the culture building and what we do,
Yeah.
is that honestly, I'm worried about that,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a four-wall
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And really being representative of what we're speaking about within those four walls.
Mhm.
Because if I don't lead by example within those four walls, it's all for me.
Yeah.
So I don't, I've got a lot of, I'll tell you, we've got a lot of vendors that we work with that I believe must have a similar spirit.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they keep their appointments, that they're on time, that they
Yeah.
follow up their work, that they really do and mean what they do. And
Yeah.
it's not any different than what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But I'm not deep enough into their inner workings to understand, is this on purpose, or is this kind of just
Part of the
Sure, yeah.
efficiency. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of great people, right?
Yeah.
That do great things and still don't understand how deep and narrow and culture building that they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And then as they start getting bigger, they find it difficult because they start surrounding themselves with other people who don't understand the culture.
Yeah.
And so it gets kind of fractured.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really can't provide you a really great answer for that,
Okay.
other than to know that we're just focused on our four walls, and it's about building that and staying true to that. And we'll meet other people
Yeah.
along the way that are going to be as similar or better than we are, and we'll learn from them.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're only 7 years old, so
Really?
we're still just the little baby that needs to be fed and changed.
It
And
doesn't seem like that.
yeah, no, it does to me.
It feels like you guys have always been there.
Nope, we haven't. But and the key is that if we can say that in 2050, right? And that'll be so sustaining this culture and growing as fast as we are is because it's shifting now. We know the concept works. I mean, burgers and beer, it works, but it's deeper than that because it's great people, a spirit for hospitality, and just we get that more now too. Repeating it is really going to be the challenge, and it's fun because I'm always up for an almost impossible challenge of staying small while getting bigger, because it's not going to be easy. And the chances of us doing it are slim, unless we're focused on it and stay true to it. So we'll see. It is possible. I know it's possible because it's just a smaller scale. Repeat it. Just set the tempo, set the template, set the strategy and the philosophy, and then just ensure that it's being delivered. Yeah, awesome.
Well, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
This has been great.
It's always fun to talk about us and talk about what we're doing and talk about how we can partner with other people and do it better. So I appreciate the time. It's again, anytime. Call me anytime, and we can help with objects. We'd love to.
Or eat your burgers and drink your beer.
That's part of the process too.
Yeah.
If you want to do that,
Yes,
that's
we love
very cool. And let me know how it is. Yeah, thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Looking forward to talking to Joey. So
Yeah.
and Jim's moving back to town, I guess. So I'm
Awesome.
here.
Yeah.
Marty said possibly. She's not jinxing it, she said.
Well, that's, yeah. So we'll see, because he told me he might be back in February, and we'll hook up with him when he is.
Awesome. Yeah,
Say hi to him for me.
I will.
Great.
All right.
I'm sort of imagining this being like a podcast that all staff listen to.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great idea. I just learned about podcasts.
You know, we as we get bigger in terms of the numbers of people that we have to, that are in our leadership group, we have found this kind of fun to podcast and to WebEx and to do that kind of thing. It's almost like I've stopped using the phone.
Yeah.
And we just get on our devices, and the podcasts are part of those things, because they talk about, you know, the old newsletter when you used to do stuff and send people a GM newsletter. Thought you were the smartest GM in the world, and you can tell other people how to be that smart. No, that's kind of what podcasts are now. But I think they're really valuable because people like listening to them, and they are interactive. So you can ask questions and not just read something and go like, okay, well, yeah.
Right.
But you can really ask, okay, so I got this problem, and it's fun.
Well, that reminds me, is there anyone, Leaves RD, did you guys have a question that you wanted to ask Mark? Don't be shy. No.
Sorry, we missed a little bit about the podcast.
She missed a little bit.
Oh, no, I was just asking if, before we let Mark go, do you have any questions for Mark that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, what was the comment about the podcast?
Oh, I was saying that I think it'd be great to have what Mark just said. Jay was recording it, so to have that, we'll transfer it into a digital file that then could be a podcast for all staff to listen to.
Oh, I see. Okay. No, do you have any questions? No, I mean, I think, thank you, Mark, so much. This was incredibly valuable. And I wrote down a bunch of things that you said that I'm definitely going to take to businesses. So thank you so much. And we really appreciated it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Great.
All right, you guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah.
Well, I know you will be really sad.